I have gathered you all here today to have a discussion. The discussion is gonna, be framed around women, but it does relate to a lot of other things besides just women. I will say that it relates to ethnicity and in region and all this other stuff. But we should probably talk about what am I talking about? Not everyone here is on Twitter. So I feel like I need to get everyone up to speed. Let's get to what I'm talking about in case anyone missed it. So, Hearthstone announced that they are having a tournament it's an invitational. Invitationals are put on by the content creation team to promote content. So I've done a lot of things like that. Not a lot. I've done some. I've been invited to some. So here it is. This is the invitational. It's $100,000. A lot of money is put into this invitational because it's a big deal. So it's 20 invited players. And it's to promote the new content. It's to promote the standard content. And it's a 2-team event. This blue team versus the red team. Here's the blue team. Here's the red team. So I saw the teams and I thought to myself, this really lacks women again. It sucks because I've done this the right way numerous times where I talk to Blizzard about their lack of inclusion of women. I do it off the internet. I have conversations with them about why it's important to have diversity. I did that conversation like a year ago, and I've kept up the conversation. And for a full year, if you're having a conversation and then you find out they're not listening, you just discover that you've been talking to a brick wall for a full year, then you feel upset. You're like, wait, I've been talking to a wall this whole time? I thought I was talking to people who are listening with ears. And so you get frustrated. You're like, wait, did you just disregard our conversations? Or just have them to appease me? Now, this is not about me not being invited. Let me make this clear. There's a couple things I want you guys to know. This is not about me not getting invited. I don't want to make this personal. There are plenty of women gamers. Now, are there the same amount of women to men? No, there are not. And I know that. All right, let's make this clear. And do I play this game mode right now? No. Do a lot of these players play this game mode right now? Part of them do. Some of them do not, though. A lot of these people, not a lot, a portion of these players play Battlegrounds. So you can't use that as an excuse. They only invited constructed players. You can't use that as an excuse. Dog played strictly Battlegrounds until the new set came out, which he already knew that he was invited to the tournament. They don't make these invites the day before they announce it. They make these invites usually 30 days prior. So he's known for maybe 30 days. I'm assuming, and I'm not positive. So you can't go with the assumption of, they only do the game mode. They've never done that. Ever. So you can't make that assumption for the women saying, well, they didn't invite the girls because they play more Battlegrounds when they're inviting boys that play more Battlegrounds. So you can't use that excuse. Okay. So I just want to throw that into the mixing pool of that's not a good excuse. So one of the most common misconceptions that I see that I want to kind of talk about is well, there aren't that many female streamers, so why would we give them spots And then every once in a while you see the, well, you don't deserve it. That's another thing. Now, what I will say is all these people deserve spots. They are all great. A lot of these people work super duper hard. So the two women invited, Slysssa, she's a champion of Hearthstone, and Nayara. If you guys don't know Nayara, she's at the bottom right. She is from, I want to say she's from Brazil, but I get confused because I've hung out with her a few times, and her and her boyfriend were from different countries and they spoke different languages, but they could understand each other. I believe she spoke Portuguese and he spoke Spanish, which would make her from Brazil. But they were really cute. Anyways, let's go back to the argument of, there's not that many female content creators in comparison to men, so men deserve the spots. Why aren't there more female content creators? I wouldn't have gotten into this if I didn't see Slysssa doing it. If they hadn't picked her out to promote her, I would never be here. Because I wouldn't know that I could do it. It's so sad. And I have so many people who are girls say that to me. It's the girls are being gatekept. We got the one. We have Allie. And so they're we have the one, it's fine. And I know so many women who feel they got inspired by her. She's so inspirational and they want to be her. I told myself not to cry. And so then what happens is, and I think you guys know this because I see a lot of people complaining about seeing the same faces. What happens is these big events are great marketing tools. They market two things. They market the game and they market the streamer. And Blizzard has to know what exponential growth they give the streamers that they invite. They have to know that. And I am the best case study of that possible. I was not invited to these big events at first. I was invited to a couple standard invitationals that helped me grow a lot. And then I made my biggest breakthrough ever from the Battlegrounds Invitational that I was not invited to. I was not invited to that. Only one girl was invited, and it was Hafu, who was not playing the game. But I think it's great that they invited her because one, is the girl, and two, that reaches a new audience because she has a huge audience. So I'm totally fine with that because my job depends on new people coming into the game and keeping new people here, right? And keeping old people here. I am totally fine that they invite someone like Hafu, who has a great audience. She's great at the game. So I wasn't invited to that old Battlegrounds tournament. I got in last minute because of something else that happened with another player. And I blew up after that. If you look at all my stats of my stream, I went from an average of 400 viewers to 1,000. And 1,000 is a huge marker for a streamer. That really helps you make this a career. Same with my YouTube. Went from having no viewers, an average of 50 to 500 per video, to 10,000 per video. That's a huge boost. But I would have never had it if I wasn't invited. And so here's the thing. The invites cultivate the culture that they want to represent them. So if you want to say, hey, we're mostly a male game, so we want to appeal to all the boys out there, so let's just invite all the boys. Because that's what it will appeal to, right? You see a tournament with a bunch of guys, and you're like, yeah, it's a guy thing. And then your girlfriend sees it, and she's like, oh, I'm not interested in this. This is a guy thing, right? This is a bunch of dudes. Why would I care? There's no reason to care. This must be a guy thing that I'm watching. But if you get some women up on that stage, and they're like, oh, she's competing with the guys. She's just as good. You saying, I can do this? Is this a game I might be interested in? Let's try it out. Now you're getting to 50% more people because those women don't know that this game could be for them. It's just like, it's natural to believe that if you see everything of the same gender, that it's like gender stereotyping in a way. So for example, if you were to see someone, like if your girlfriend was watching a show and there's just a full women cast, you might subtly think this is a women's show and I'm not going to watch it because it's just like a slightly natural. But if you were to do that all the time, you know, it's not great, because if you think of something like Mean Girls is one of the greatest movies of all time. But a lot of people some men wrote it off because it was just a full woman cast. So they didn't realize like what a good movie it was because they thought it was a girl movie. And so that's what happens. And this is why there's not a lot of women. We see full men and we think that's a man thing. It's not, you know. So we, you know, it's hard for women to give it the light of day. And it's going to keep happening because what happens is when you invite the same people over and over again, they exponentially grow. So they go like this, and it puts the people not invited farther and farther behind. Now, I'm very much aware that it is not Blizzard's job to grow content creators. It is our own job to grow our own business. And I treat my stream like a freaking business. Anyone who has watched my stream and knows me knows how hard I try to grow my content and my business. I am very much into that. And so I know it's not Blizzard's job to grow my stream. I know that. But they have to know too that what they present, what they put out there is what people think of the game and who they are going to want to be included. And so it's like they're totally making all these women feel excluded and losing out on this huge market. I mean, have you ever tuned into a video game tournament and seen girls in it and then been turned off from the tournament? I don't think so, right? Like, I think if you were to see women in the tournament, it's not a turn off. Yeah, I'm rashing because I get very just like, I don't like confrontation. I think I've talked about this before. I have this like intrinsic need to teach. I love teaching. But what I taught when I was a teacher was very black and white. I teach math. I teach a black and white subject. And so delving into a gray area is very nerve-wracking for me. It's not what I usually do. I think that Blizzard just keeps looking at this from the wrong perspective. They're looking at it from, these people currently give us the best numbers, so we're going to go with these people. Now, I will say there are some new faces in here. We always say, oh, it's always the same people. But like Dexter doesn't always get invited to things. And so I'm happy to see him there because he works so hard. Fino doesn't always get invited to things. I think those are the only two fresh faces I see. But it is hard for me to say because I'm sure this is also like a regional issue too. Because if you look, there's like an equation. We invite 4 NA, 2 EU, 3 APAC. So if you look, the top 4 from each are NA. And then the farthest right and bottom left are the EU. And I see one South America, some APAC. I see Russia. But so they are very like cognizant of specific regions. But so, and I'm glad they're getting other regions involved because that's important for regional representation. You think of someone like the French community. The French community is like so insane at Hearthstone in a good way. And it'd be really, really upsetting if the French was not represented, right? Because look at how many like GMs they've been creating and stuff like that. So currently the current equation is get the region numbers and then invite the same names and faces that have worked in the past. Now, all these people are great. I love these people. A lot of them are my friends, and they know that. They know that I would call them my friends, and I could talk to them about things, you know. So none of this is trying to take away from their achievements. But a lot of them are people that we've seen over and over again. And what happens when you watch a TV show for so long is that you get tired of the characters, right? So what TV shows try to do is they try to reinvent the characters, but then that usually kind of fails. And so they'll bring in new characters, right? Bringing in new characters can be really important for a TV show's success. And so I'm saying is like, we need to bring in new characters. And guess what? They can be women because you're not reaching the women. There's so many girls that I think would love this game if they just knew what it was. Why do I know this? Okay. So I feel like a lot of people keep throwing out numbers. Like numbers are getting thrown out left and right. People are being like, well, a lot of girls do not play this game. I see that a lot. Like girls don't play this game. Look how many girl streamers there are. So basically people are equating the number of girl players based on the number of female streamers, which we have no proof of, right? In fact, we have no proof of anything when it comes to how many men and women play the game. At least I don't have any. If you guys have the numbers or the statistics somewhere, you know, I'd be interested. So why is it only 10% women are streaming it? I think because we just don't have a lot of role models. We're starting to get more, but we're not seeing them. We're seeing the one girl invited each time. And it's so I don't think Allie will mind me talking about this, but Allie was telling me yesterday, like, I'm sick of being the girl invited +1. It always is a Allie +1, she feels. And she's like, I'm sick of that. Like, why? Why is it me token and then the token +1? Representation. Yeah, representation is just, it's so big. And people will play a game that they see themselves in. So if you see more women on the screen competing at the same level as the men, you realize I can do that. I know that the women can compete at the same level as the men. I know this because I competed in a tournament recently. Fate to Karma held a men and women's tournament. It was 50-50 invite. So you could see, you know, how did the men and the women compare? Top 4 for both lobbies, you know, it was 8 and 8. Top 4 of both lobbies were 2 men, 2 women. So we performed just as well as the boys. Actually, we performed better because you know what? The 5th place of both teams were women. So the top 5 of 8 of both lobbies were 3 women, 2 men. So, okay. I'm not saying we're better than men, but I'm saying we can compete, you know? Let's talk about something else. This is like an analogy I kind of wanted to bring up. I always wanted to play football growing up. So bad. My brother was a quarterback and a wide receiver, which, you know, just throw the ball and he'd catch it himself, whatever. No, he was interchangeable quarterback, wide receiver. I loved football and I would play with him whenever I could. We would go into the yard and he would throw bullets at me and he would show off to his friends how hard he could throw a ball at me and for me to catch it. And he'd be like, she's so tough. Look how much she can, like, how hard of a ball I can throw at her and she'll catch it, right? The thing was, I couldn't play football. Why? There was no women's teams. People assume there's no women's team because women aren't interested. I was super interested, but I didn't want to be that girl, the girl that joined the men's football team. Do you know how much criticism you get for being that girl, right? By the way, when I say football, I mean American football, not soccer. I'm so sorry. I played soccer. I mean American football. I loved it. And I didn't get to play my whole life. And it still to this day kind of makes me sad because I just love the sport. That was in 2005 to 2008. Fast forward to when I was a teacher. That was in 2014. I was a teacher, 2014, 15, 16. And women's football was the most competitive sport at the high school I taught at. It was the most competitive by a lot. So what happened was, since I've been in school, I didn't know this, but they started women's football teams. They are flag football, which I can't decide if I like or dislike. Part of me is like, oh, what? Just let us hit. But then the other part of me is like, well, they've proven a lot of studies that the hitting in football causes a lot of brain damage. And so maybe we're just like, keeping, if we don't, let's just like not get the brain injuries. Sure. We can do without, because it's really hard for men's football to regress in the tackles. They've tried, and it is, so if you just like never allow it, then maybe it's better. Anyways, it's the most competitive sport in the high school I taught at. Every girl tried out. They had very strict tryouts. We had so many coaches, like just as many coaches as the men's team did. All the boy football players were like wanted to be the trainers and like the water boys for the girls football team. It was adorable. I loved it. I was like, yes, stop gatekeeping the girls from playing football if they want to play football. Like, it made me so happy. So where I'm trying to go with this is that people assume that girls don't like something because they don't see girls doing it. It's not always the case. A lot of times, if a girl isn't doing something, it's because they don't have the opportunity or they don't know that they might be interested. I think there's probably a ton of girls who would love this game if they knew about it. In fact, I became obsessed with this game in 2015. I haven't stopped playing since, right? One of my best friends recently learned the game from her fiance. Her fiance showed it to her because he plays World of Warcraft, all stuff. So he started playing Hearthstone. He showed her Battlegrounds and she's obsessed with Battlegrounds. She sends me her end comps and her, like all the time she shows me like her new MMR spikes and stuff like that. Girls like the game. Like, so I saw some people on Twitter posting things like, oh, girls just aren't as interested. Someone tried to say that there's studies that show that girls don't like cards. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, wait, what? Where are you coming up with these numbers? Now, you learn when you do like marketing and stuff, you cannot make assumptions. You can't just like assume that girls will love the game because you love it. And you can't assume that girls will hate it because you hate it. But I do know that there are studies out there that say that women are the most women consume cell phone gaming the most. They love cell phone games. Well, if girls love cell phone games, well, what do you think Hearthstone is? Hello? It's a cell phone game. Yeah, I don't know why people think girls don't like cards. My mom plays solitaire on her phone every day. My grandma plays solitaire on her iPad every day. It's a form of a card game. And I'm just like, it's not gender relative. Hello. The reason we don't see girls represented is because, what my interpretation is that when the same people keep getting invited, they exponentially grow, which puts the people not invited behind, and you keep falling farther behind, and you keep getting farther away from being able to be invited. And therefore, you are segregating, or not, I don't know what the right word is, you're excluding a huge potential market of women who would love the game and then could become amazing content creators for the game if they knew about the game. And they knew the game was for them. And it just like frustrates me to no end that and I think the why is what people aren't seeing, and I get it. A lot of people see it black and white, right? Like, there's like 10% women who content create, so 10% is more than enough. of representation. And I can see why you think that. And so I hope I kind of gave some justification as to like, but why is it 10%? I don't think it's 10% because we dislike the game. I don't think that's it. I think it's underrepresentation, and I think it's underselling to the market. So like, what can we do to help? Because I've had people ask me, what can I do? So obviously I'm not telling you guys to like, don't stop doing what you're doing, but look for more female creators to promote and watch. So for me, before my streams, I like to pop into random streams that I've never seen before. And if I enjoy it, I follow them. And that way I have more people in my repertoire that I can raid. So I try and pop into 1 to 2 streams every morning, or after streams. After streams harder because I'm so tired, but I know that that's usually like the same people I would raid. I try to hop in to people that aren't in the top 8, and I scroll and I look and I follow if I think, okay, I should raid this person. This would be great. I do it to men and women. I don't just do it to women. I don't just do it to men. I do it to both because I want to help everyone grow, right? And a lot of these people are being gatekept out of growing because we've just stuck to the same people. And these people are great. I love these people we're sticking to. Don't get me wrong, but there's so many others that are good and that just need their time to shine. So something you can do is not just to go to your normal person, like, you know, come to me, of course, but like, go check out other streams. If I'm not streaming yet, go look at for other streamers. Don't be afraid to scroll a little bit in the Hearthstone section, you know? So don't be afraid to look for new streamers. If you don't like them, you don't like them. You're not gonna like everyone. Not everyone likes me. It happens. Like, I totally get it, but you might as well try. It's not gonna hurt you to try. I'm afraid of new things. I get it. New things are scary. This is very scary for me. I hate being controversial. I hate like this is why I'm all Hy-Vee and red right now. You see this? This isn't my natural color. I don't like to do things like this, but it's been a year at least of like people just being like, why is this happening still? And it just keeps happening and keeps happening. I'm just like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of dealing with this the kosher way. I'm gonna deal with it my way now. Yeah, I think for me, it's hard to talk about this. I feel like growing up, I was kind of taught that being a feminist was a bad thing. And I didn't, it was like controversial to be a feminist. So I never was. I just always assumed everything was equal and everything was fair. And it was for me through most of my life, it felt like. And then I look back now and see things as a slightly different perspective. There's a common phrase children say, "Ha ha, you lost to a girl." This is what's bred into boys. They're bred to believe it's embarrassing to lose to a girl. You're like, wait, why did we say that? Why? That's so I was kind of talking to Critter about this the other day. We talk about sexism a lot because there's a lot of like major sexism that you see on the internet from trolls. And that is just like talking to like such a dummy, right? That's like the very like major things that's like, it's just so dumb, right? But then there's like very minor subtle sexisms that you might not realize that you do. Yeah, it's spread into women too. Like, we get proud of beating a boy and you're just like, wait, why should I be proud of this? Like, this is weird. So it's not just like a boy thing. It happens to girls too. We're bred the same way. But there's these like minor sexism things that happen that you might not realize that you do or that happens to you or something. So like something I get really sensitive about is when people come into my stream and make the comment like, what's her MMR? Is she any good? Because I sit in boys streams and they don't get that question. And so basically where I'm going with this is it's just this subtle assumption that the girls aren't as good as the boys, right? And so every time I see that, I mean, that's why we have the troll command over it, because like it's so like you might as well just try and like troll them back, because it's very subtle and you might not notice that you do it. But like, let's say you want to learn a game. If you automatically go into a boy stream over a girl because you assume the girl is more entertaining and less good at the game, that's just it's a slight sexism, right? And it's something that I hope to counter by just doing what I'm doing, of just being a good player so people can just see it. And then the more they see it, hopefully the less they question it. I don't know. But if girls can't participate in the same things as the boys, then you can't show it as much, right? Like in the last invitationals I've been invited to, Hearthstone ones, so the Battlegrounds one, I was the top point earner. The one prior to that was a standard invitational I was invited to, and I was the second highest point earner for my team. It was 10v10. I was the second or third highest. I think my record was 3-1. One person on our team was 4-0, and I was 3-1 with Paladin, which was a terrible class at the time. Like, but girls can't prove themselves like that if they're not invited. And then the subtle sexism just continues. I guess, yeah. Someone said that's why Lion's victory was so important. It was so important. I remember everyone at BlizzCon was like tearing up when Lion won. Like I tear up thinking about it. Like watching her on the stage beat all the boys. I felt, for some reason, when I played Standard, I felt way more subconscious and undermined about my skill and intelligence. There was something about Standard. I don't know if it's the players within Standard or the competitive nature over something was off over. I haven't felt that way in Battlegrounds, especially after I won that tournament. I feel like all the streamers respect me, and I feel like my community respects me. Do all the Battlegrounds players respect me? Probably not. They don't all know me, and I don't expect them to. But I will say that I feel super respected in the Battleground community, way more than I ever felt in Standard. I want more women in the game because, one, I think they'll like it. I want people to be happy, so I want them to find a game that makes them happy. But if they're not going to find it if they don't know about it, because they don't know that women play this game. I want more women content creators, so I want to inspire them to keep pushing. I know when women content creators reach out to me for help, I try to help them out as much as I can. So I want to see more diversity, because I love you boys, but I love girls too, you know? I just want everyone here. I just want it to be happy. You know what's been so great about my relationship with Critter is that we both love video games. It's a common interest of ours, and it's really important to have common interests. And so I don't understand when sometimes men try to push women out. I think a lot of you guys do not do that. I think sometimes talking to you guys is like preaching to a choir, because you guys respect me, and but if there are new people here, welcome. I think it can only be good to get more women involved in the game, because then we can just build more relationships and have fun. And like, chicks are awesome. I like girls, you know. Do you like girls? Chat, press 1 if you like girls. Like, press 1. And if you press 1, then you should be welcoming to girls in your community, right? So we don't do things that would try to kick girl out of community, like belittle her intelligence or gatekeep her, right? Like we don't do that. So I think that's the end of my rant. So yeah, this is my take. I hope that you guys had an open mind to the take. I have an open mind to hear other things. You know, I'm not saying at all that these men don't deserve their spots. Not in the slightest. There's some that I'm so proud got a spot. Like, I get mad every time Dexter doesn't get a spot. Like, I get pissed because he deserves it so much. He does so much content creation. And so it's like I fight for boys too, but I just want to give like this perspective of why it's important and why matching percents to percents of the creation isn't the right tactic.